All right, hey YouTube, how you doing? Quick video update. I finished the rough draft of the entire map um, of the world I'm creating. So last time I think I was talking about how I wanted to kind of create a rough draft of this map. Here, let me pull that up. So I coordinated all these different. I guess if this is like the map of the entire area, there's a map for each of these kind of coordinate maps. And what I really wanted to do last time was kind of create a just create a rough draft of each of these little maps. So if we look right here, uh, this would be B5, the Jungle West. What I kind of was doing with Thylanus right here in D5, I wanted to move it over to C5. So I think currently I'll have to re-update this map at some point, but I thought it was a bit too close to D4 up here. I wanted there to be more route in between D4 and this city, these two cities. So I moved it over into C5 here. Again, this is just kind of like a rough draft of the map. There was nothing here previously, but it allowed me for in D5 over here to kind of make this more of like a crossroads map. Um, so you know, you can kind of there's room to add some stuff, so I can either remove some of these trees and add some buildings here if I need to create some things for some side quests or whatever, or some main quests. You can always just like kind of remove one of these trees and add a little like tunnel thing, sort of like this. So let's see, just as an example here, if I wanted to remove this tree, I could create a little dungeon there. So there's plenty of room to kind of expand with this kind of mock map. But just to kind of walk you through it, uh, that's my game practice. So if I come into here, you can kind of see, I guess, this is probably going to look really bad, but I guess this is mostly just for, um, recording what it looks like. So I think you can kind of see the full map here. So I don't have anything in A. So while I had some like tips here, I decided not to add anything. If I want to add anything later, I can just go into this NA folder and go into A, and I can start adding things as needed. So right now, A is completely vacant. Don't have anything in there. In B, I only have this one map in B5. B6, I decided not to add anything. If I want, I can add a little pathway right here into B6 to kind of expand this jungle maze. Um, but right now I don't really know if I want to. Here, I'll do like a little play test. Um, so you can kind of see what I'm working with. Right now, this is the only one I have this is the only map that I have an actual transition into. So if you look right here, it transitions into C5 right here, which is where I added this town to go to. So this is the only map that has a working transition. If I were to go to the bottom right corner of C5 to go into D5, I think it is, um, you'll notice that there is no transition yet. So I think in my next update, I'll want to create working transitions for all these maps. But right now, that's just kind of what I have right now. So it just kind of goes from C5 to B5. I want to, before I start fully committing to transitions all over the map, I want to make sure I got the right sound effects and animations for the transition, because it would be a pain if I did this and applied it everywhere, and then I end up not liking it. I want to change it. Um, then I'd have to go back and change every single one of these events. So right now that's a work in progress. Next time maybe I'll have that working, but right now I can show you what the code is. It's very simple. It's just if the player steps on this square, then they step forward once the screen fades out. I play the movement animation. They transport the player to that location. Screen fades in, and then they step forward one more time. So I like when the transition has a bit more movement, so the player kind of moves a little bit automatically. I don't know if you noticed that, but yeah. So I only have one map really in the B column, In C, I got 3 maps, so I got this C3 up here. I have this kind of this these what do you call it? It's just, I guess it's not really captured. I don't know. I'm, having a brain fart right here. So it's just a little bit of like C3 here, and really this path right here connects to D3. So eventually, there might be like a little event that plays in this corner. This is very makeshift map. I just wanted to get like the terrain kind of set up. So like maybe there's like a little river and a little like pond lake here. Very mountainous area. I wanted this to be, so there's like high cliffs. It could be shaped a little bit nicer, but really it's just to kind of it's a rough draft for right now. So once I get these kinds of connected to all the spots, it kind of gives me a better visual of like, do I want to add a certain event in this area, that kind of thing. So this is C3, which would be right there. We got C4, so C3 and C4 don't connect at all. C3 connects to D3 and C4 connects to D4. For this square, I'm thinking maybe it will be an extension of the D4 city, just because I want that D4 city Doraconia to be a little bit bigger. So I was thinking about adding like a little Coliseum here, but I don't really know if I want to commit to having a mini game. It's just an idea to have like a Coliseum mini game where you can fight other people, I guess. So I might add that in this square in C4, but that's kind of like a and not a need to do. It's more of a nice to do. So that's on the agenda maybe for later. Thylanus is what we kind of. It's the transition from B5 to C5. So again, none of the C squares really connect with each other. They are all kind of connected by this I guess arterial road or highway system that runs up from D2 to uh, D6. So um, yeah, this is just going to be like a city, kind of like maybe like a, I don't know if it will be an elven city in the forest, but that's kind of like what the vibe is at the current moment. So those are the C column squares. Then we go back up to D1 up at the top. You see the river kind of going across. This is kind of just like a wilderness square that's a bit north of D2. So what I kind of like in these games is how um, D1 doesn't connect to D2. Instead, you have to go from D1 to E1 to E2 to D2. So you'll kind of notice that there isn't a direct path. And I don't know, I just think it makes the world feel a little bit bigger when you have to take these kind of roundabout ways, and you can see maybe some paths that you can't actually go to that would be out of the county limits. Maybe I'll put some buildings or some huts out here eventually, just to make the world feel like a bigger place. But that's D1. And then you've got D2 playing with kind of a town settlement idea. I didn't make it a bridge here. Other kind of, I was trying to make like the Pokemon Center healing building, the inn, and the shop on all the maps, but I forgot to do it here. I started working on the I guess you could call it the gym building right here. So just playing with some ideas of maybe there's a cave here. Maybe I'll connect that cave up to here. So there's a little shortcut. I don't know yet. That's just kind of an idea of, you know, nice to do things. But you can see there's like this path that goes out of county, and then it connects right on this map to E2 and also to D3. Going down to D3, there's the connection there, and here's the connection over to C3 back through here. So I don't know. I've probably said this a lot, and I'll keep saying it. I just like how the map feels big. You can connect to all these different places, and also it feels a little bit thought out. So what I mean by that, I guess, is that I'm referencing this map. I'm not just kind of putting things willy nilly. So if you were to kind of make like this all on one map, like very zoom it out and be able to like make something where all these squares are on like one map, it would make sense. You're not seeing like um, you know connections that are off and wonky. Something that I was kind of doing in these kinds of squares was trying to create some farm potentials, some potential areas for farms. So this would be like one farm. I have some other farms in some of these that you'll see, but I don't know, just playing with some waterfalls, playing with some farms. D4 is the Doraconia City I was playing with. Again, we were talking about that maybe putting a coliseum here that connects to the actual city. Seeing like this gate as the city limits. I like the city to be kind of in the mountains, a little bit of the mountains, a little bit in like the hills. So that's kind of what this city is. Going back to the crossroads, so this was originally where the Thylanus Elven city was going to be. It's a little bit to the left, but I decided to just make this a giant crossroads area. Um, and I wanted it to be a little bit like kind of like a hidden path instead of it being a highway to the Elven City. Thought that would be interesting. These are just some southern routes, so again, I'll probably expand some stuff in these trees a little bit more because it's just kind of narrow. But could put some quest actions here, maybe some dungeons in these wilderness spots. So that's the D. I didn't do anything with D7 or D8. If I wanted to expand, I could expand, but um, don't really need to at the moment. Going into the E's, back up at the top, we got the Northern Mountains. So this connected to this point up here. So you can see the water kind of connecting to this side and also this path connecting. For the E1, I was thinking of having sort of like, maybe you go through this cave, come out this cave. This could be like a final, like a victory road in Pokemon kind of thing, where you have to go through a lot of routes to get to the final, peak up here. I don't know. Just I, just again the putting stuff on paper. Gonna connect it and then I can flesh it out as I go. I noticed that this is a bit wonky looking. Maybe I'll change it at some point, but I'm noticing that this isn't really connecting. See if I can, if this looks a little bit nicer. So I don't know if I'm gonna change it to this water. Yeah, because before it wasn't really connecting very well. So maybe I'll do something like this and change the um, change it to more of like a snowy top up here. I'm not 100% sure yet, but that was kind of bothering me a little bit. So I'll go back and fix that a bit later. But there's a path that goes down here, so you can kind of see this kind of comes down. And then this is just another route with a bunch of waterfalls. In one of my videos, I was talking a bit about how um, uh, in one of my MOAT videos, there was this the three waterway ideas for world building or something. I like this idea. In the Rocky Mountains, there's this point where the river kind of, I guess it's a creek, but it splits into two different rivers. One goes towards the Atlantic side and one goes towards the Pacific side. So I like that idea of like this Niagara Falls looking area with like I guess a cliff that splits the river into two different rivers. So that was something that I thought was interesting. So as you can see, this kind of the river splits into two. One goes kind of to the east and one goes to the south. This is just another route with some farms. This is a huge farm. I'll probably make it a bit smaller, maybe add some other things, maybe a little village here. Not really sure, but it's enough to, you know, put something down. If you go south, there's another farm, so just a bunch of routes that kind of interconnect these cities. You can see um, E5, another route. E is very bare in routes, um, but just another route with some waterways. Could add some caves, as I was saying. This is a city that I wanted to base off of kind of like Halloween, that spooky kind of town that you'd run into. I wanted there to be a little barrier of trees to kind of shield it from the main road, but these little pathways you can kind of sneak in up here, and either come in through there to get into town or come all the way down here to get into town. So a couple different ways. Maybe some sort of vampires or a little house on the hill. Maybe they'd have some black magic. Not sure. And then it's kind of bordering the desert. So some of these maps you'll see there's kind of like change in terrain. So it kind of uh, I guess hints at what you're gonna find if you go in that direction. But keep going down. This is just another kind of dead end at the edge of the county. So again, might add some stuff in here, but maybe like a haunted forest or something. But that's something to determine at a later date. Going back up at the top in F, we've got another kind of end of the county dead end where this kind of bridge goes into the next county over. I think this is a little bit too thick, so I'm gonna skinny that up so it's all even. But could just have some huts out here, some hunting areas. This is going to be my winter town, so up in F2, that's where the winter town would be. I kind of like the idea of inspiring it off of some Vikings, but we'll see how that goes with the asset availability. You can see I've got the red roof Pokemon Center in, and then the yellow roof like Pokemart, and then the purple roof um, gym kind of thing. I want to add like some sort of church structure in every town, so this would be kind of like their religious structure. Um, I don't know if I want it to be like each major place has their own kind of god, and like Castle Guard is kind of the one in F4 is kind of trying to kind of colonize all of these different places. I'm not sure how I want to do it. I was talking about how I wanted one of the themes to be like magic versus religion, so that could be something with the or not magic versus religion, but kind of like education versus religion, or pro magic versus anti magic, those kinds of themes. So if I did have some religion in here, then that could be, that's why every place would have its own religious site. Also, when I was talking about, I guess in another MOAT video about the sperm principle, there's the social, religious, economic, military, and social, political, economic, religious, and military. So a church or a temple would fit that religious kind of thematic. And then, I might have a political building. Each place has its own political building. Each place has its own economic kind of imports, exports, that kind of thing. So just some ideas to have, planting some seeds, and we'll see where they grow. This is kind of up in F3 here. If you go north, that's towards the Gunner's Grim. If you go south, that's toward Castle Guard. East is towards the river, and west is towards that waterfall kind of thing that we had. This is Castle Guard. I think this was in the last one. So just a big castle sort of city surrounded by a moat. And this is kind of like a good central location where you can kind of go in all these different locations, kind of like a beltway around a city. So they're kind of in a central location. You can kind of go to Castle Guard and then kind of go wherever you want from there. This is kind of South Castle Guard, so a lot more rivers and lakes. I was thinking about making this area like a swampy region in the initial concept art, but I don't know how likely we'll get a swampy region in here. So we have this for now. And then this kind of transitions into a desert. So this desert kind of is on a cliff. So water is kind of going below the desert, and from the south again can add some other stuff here eventually, but just kind of a big desert towards the south. Nothing really too fancy there. G, we've got just kind of like a this is G2, so I didn't even have G1. G2 is just kind of like a little peninsula along the river, uh, and then just goes along the river. So this is mostly just the rivers for the first couple of Gs. And you can kind of see these fences kind of connecting the dots here. So you've got G3, F3, where the F3 fence kind of comes here, and then ends up in G4. So these kinds of areas are just around Castle Guard. Sorry if I'm going fast. I just don't want this video to be like 30 minutes. But I want to highlight all of the squares that I've made, just to keep record of it, as like a little time capsule, if you will. So in this eastern part, this is kind of like maybe I'll have like a little port town here eventually. Castle Guard kind of might have like a little economic hub that connects them to the waterway of the river, just so they can kind of trade up and down. Not sure, if that will be a thing or not, but just an idea. Manaheim, so eventually I'll have a little city here. And I was thinking this might be a good starting location, just to kind of set up the idea of the magic school. I like the idea of there being these, sorry, canals, um, just as kind of like I like the idea of like Venice, even though this is kind of inland. It's not like off the coast of a sea, but just like that kind of canal vibe. I was thinking maybe for Mannheim. Not really sure if I'll follow through with that, but I think that would be like a cool kind of aesthetic. South, it kind of goes back into the desert territory again, so trying to create those transitions. Might create something here. I don't know if I'll make like a little forest here. In my original Manaheim concept, there was a place called the Whimsy Wood, so maybe I will, add the Whimsy Wood right there. Then just more desert, lots of desert. This would actually be in this one. This would be where the desert city would be eventually. So I haven't really started on the desert city, but I have the paths all set up, and then maybe just in this giant spot right here. Um, Going over into H, we only have two. This is kind of towards the end. So H1, H2, H3, H4, H7, H8, they're all kind of vacant, but this would kind of be the northern place. I was thinking of Victoria, I guess. This is the last kind of region within the county. It used to be Siberia, but I think I'm gonna settle with Victoria, just because Siberia starts with a C and Castleguard starts with a C. So if I start it with another letter, then it's kind of easier to I don't know. I guess it's easier to learn if each city has it starts with a different letter. I don't know. That's just kind of like a thing that came to mind. I don't know. But you can see this river from up here, kind of connecting with the rivers from Manheim into the main river, kind of going outside of the county. And then I was thinking about adding like a beach area up here. I don't know what kind of assets I'll have, but in my original Manheim thing, there was a beach, and I think that it would be cool just to have like a little like river beach there as well. So I originally was gonna put Siberia on this square, but I think I'm gonna put it on this square instead, just because like I was talking about over here with Thylanus and D5 or D5 and C5. I thought it was a bit too close to D4, so I wanted some extra route space to kind of show distance traveled. So same thing here. I think Manheim on G5 is a bit too close to if Victoria was on H5. So I think if it's on H6, then there's still two squares separating it, and then two squares separating it from uh, Emildestad in G7. So that's the H squares, and then again transitioning into desert some more, and then the last one on I5. This is kind of to the east of H5. So if you're here, just go further down the river, and then H5 connects to this end kind of border of the county. So yeah, that's kind of how I was what I was working on. Kind of takes a little bit of time to create these rough drafts of maps. Like that's how many maps. All these maps were kind of just created over the past couple of days. So it's a decent amount of maps, but and they're definitely not finished. I'll definitely add some more to them. But it's next part is probably just going to be creating little transitions and making sure that kind of is up to a satisfactory spot so I can run around from map to map, just and make sure that works, so that if when I eventually get to quests and stuff like that, I can um, again probably make each quest on its own kind of testing room, like I did up here with the minimum viable product. And then once I get it into a working spot, then I can um, put each kind of like uh, each what you call it, like a beat to a story, each checkpoint, I guess. Each checkpoint I can kind of put it in its uh, individual kind of chunk, I guess you would call it. um, and these the amount of rooms, I guess you would call these, they're going to increase exponentially, because for each city there's going to be so many buildings and structures. So each Pokemon Center, healing in whatever you want to call it, is going to have its own room dedicated to that, sort of like how it's up here with this. So I'm going to have to create one of these for each Pokemon Center. I might just make like for organizational purposes, I'll probably just create like a new tab for all of these, just so I can um, better keep track of them, instead of having them all, having to go into the Doraconia D4 and then go into the Pokemon Inn just so I can better compare and contrast what's going on in each one. I might do something like that. Same with the shopping and the church religious temple thing, and for gyms and stuff like that, I'll probably just create new tabs for each of those. But yeah, that's kind of the progress we've made so far. Um, yeah, next time we'll work on we'll work on connecting them all with transfers. But yeah, that's what I've got right now. Have a good day, and I'll catch you later. See you next time. Bye bye.